For 10 years, Happy Days was the heart of American television. Families gathered around the TV to watch Richie, Fonzie, and the Cunningham family laugh, fall in love, and navigate the ups and downs of life in the 1950s. The show felt safe, fun, and familiar, a slice of nostalgia that millions of viewers loved. But did you know that a single scene in the later seasons is often blamed for pushing the show toward its end? One moment, meant to shock or entertain, ended up changing everything. How could a show so beloved for a decade stumble because of one scene, and what really happened behind the cameras that made fans say goodbye to Happy Days forever? Let's dive into the untold story of Happy Days show. Airing on ABC from 1974 to 1984, the series captured the imagination of millions with its portrayal of 1950s America, complete with leather jackets, malt shops, drive-ins, and the unforgettable antics of the Cunningham family and their friends. But behind the laughter, jukebox tunes, and the charming charisma of the cast, a series of creative missteps and a single infamous scene would eventually mark the end of the show, changing its legacy forever. To understand how one scene could contribute to the downfall of Happy Days, it's essential to recall its humble beginnings. The show followed the Cunningham family in Milwaukee, focusing on the teenage experiences of Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard, and his iconic friend Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli, portrayed by Henry Winkler. Initially, Richie was the central character, the all-American teenager navigating school, friendships, and first loves. However, as the show progressed, Fonzie's popularity skyrocketed. With his leather jacket, slicked-back hair, and effortless cool, Fonzie became the cultural icon of the series, often overshadowing the Cunningham family themselves. By the late 70s, Happy Days was at its peak. Fonzie's catchphrases, "I," and "sit on it," were on everyone's lips. The show had inspired spin-offs like Lovin' and Shirley and Mork and Mindy, making it a cornerstone of ABC's programming. But as the 1980s approached, cracks began to appear. Ron Howard, who played Richie, grew tired of the constraints of sitcom acting and the increasingly outlandish storylines that centered on Fonzie. He left the show in 1980, a decision that shifted the series' dynamic dramatically. The producers attempted to keep the show alive by introducing new characters and storylines, but nothing could replicate the original magic. Audiences began to notice the change. Rich's departure left a void in the narrative, the moral center of the show was gone, and Fonzie, while beloved, could not carry the series alone. Writers experimented with bolder storylines and guest appearances, but the show's charm, rooted in simplicity and family-oriented humor, began to feel forced. It was in this context that the infamous scene, the one widely believed to have accelerated Happy Days' demise, aired. The episode, part of the series' final season, attempted to combine nostalgia with a shocking plot twist designed to draw viewers back in. Fonzie, usually the epitome of cool and composure, found himself in a dramatically exaggerated storyline that involved a dangerous car accident, a sudden health scare, and an emotionally manipulative reunion with a former love interest. The scene was meant to be dramatic, even heartfelt, but it landed poorly with audiences. Fans had tuned in for the wholesome humor, the light-hearted stories, and the nostalgic portrayal of 1950s teenage life. They were not prepared for what felt like a soap opera-style emotional manipulation in a sitcom that had never ventured so deeply into melodrama. The scene disrupted the tone of the series, breaking the balance between comedy and heartwarming life lessons. Viewers felt betrayed. The show they loved no longer felt like the same Happy Days. Critics were equally unforgiving. Reviews described the episode as a jarring tonal shift and a misguided attempt at maturity, arguing that it undermined years of character development and diluted the series' identity. Ratings, which had been slowly declining following Rich's departure, plummeted further after the episode aired. Audience loyalty, built over a decade, was shaken. For many, this scene became the symbol of a once great show that had lost its way. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew were equally aware that something had gone wrong. Henry Winkler, who had become a household name as Fonzie, expressed frustration in interviews about the direction of the show. He and other cast members had hoped for a graceful conclusion to the series, one that honored the spirit of the original episodes. Instead, the final seasons felt like a scramble to maintain relevance, relying on shock value and heightened drama rather than the humor and charm that had made the series successful. The fallout was immediate. Networks, already cautious about declining ratings, began pulling back support, cutting promotion, and questioning the show's viability. Guest stars who had once been eager to appear on Happy Days began to hesitate, wary of associating with a series that seemed out of touch with its audience. And the cast, fatigued from years of shooting, knew that the end was inevitable. It's important to note that Happy Days did not end solely because of this scene. The show's decline was a combination of factors: cast departures, evolving audience tastes, competition from other programming, and the natural lifespan of a decade-long series. But television historians and fans alike often point to this particular episode as the moment when the series' heart broke. The disconnect between what audiences expected and what they were given crystallized the sense that Happy Days had run its course. Even after the series officially ended in 1984, the legacy of that infamous scene lingered. In syndication, fans would recall it with frustration, noting how it jarred against the tone of the early seasons. For some, it became shorthand for everything that had gone wrong in the show's later years: attempts at forced drama, a departure from the wholesome humor, and an over-reliance on shock value. Yet, despite the misstep, Happy Days remains a landmark in television history. Its influence is undeniable, from the rise of Fonzie as a cultural icon to the launch of multiple successful spin-offs. The show introduced audiences to Ron Howard, Henry Winkler, and a cast whose careers would continue long after the series ended. It also set a standard for nostalgia-driven storytelling, demonstrating the power of creating a universe that audiences could return to week after week. Still, the story of Happy Days serves as a cautionary tale for television creators. No matter how beloved a series is, pushing beyond its established tone or taking risks without careful alignment with audience expectations can have unintended consequences. The infamous scene is remembered not because it was the sole cause of the show's end, but because it symbolized the point where the series lost its way, the moment when the delicate balance between comedy, nostalgia, and heart was disrupted. When Happy Days ended in 1984, it left millions of fans feeling nostalgic and a little sad. The show had been part of their lives for 10 years, bringing laughter and comfort every week. But life moved on, and so did the cast. Today, decades later, the stars of Happy Days have taken very different paths, some staying in show business, some finding new passions, and others living quietly away from the spotlight. Henry Winkler, who played the cool and confident Fonzie, is still one of the most recognized faces from the show. After Happy Days, he became a successful actor, director, and producer. Winkler also wrote a series of children's books called Hank Zipzer, inspired by his own struggles with dyslexia. He's been praised for using his fame to help kids who face similar challenges. In recent years, Winkler has returned to TV in shows like Barry, where he won Emmy Awards for his brilliant acting. From teen idol to respected actor and author, Winkler's career shows how Fonzie's charm could grow into something even bigger. Ron Howard, who played Richie Cunningham, took a different path. After leaving the show, he stopped acting and moved behind the camera. Today, Howard is one of Hollywood's most successful directors and producers. He has created legendary films such as Apollo 13, A Beautiful Mind, and The Da Vinci Code. His work has won Oscars, Golden Globes, and countless other awards. Howard has taken the skills he learned on Happy Days, timing, storytelling, and character development, and turned them into one of the most impressive careers in Hollywood. He rarely acts anymore, but his influence on movies and TV is enormous. Marion Ross, who played Mrs. Marion Cunningham, the warm and loving mother, continued acting for many years. She appeared in numerous TV shows and movies, including guest roles in The Drew Carey Show and Joan of Arcadia. Ross also wrote her memoir, sharing her memories of the show and life in Hollywood. Even though she has slowed down in recent years, she remains beloved by fans who grew up watching her portray the caring mom of the Cunningham family. Anson Williams, who played Potsy Weber, stayed in show business too, but he moved mostly behind the camera. He became a director and producer, working on shows like Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 90210. Williams has said that Happy Days gave him a start, but directing allowed him to grow and create stories in a new way. His career shows how actors can transition from being in front of the camera to shaping the stories themselves. Don Most, who played Ralph Malph, also stayed connected to entertainment. He appeared in other TV shows and movies, and he has worked as a voice actor and singer. Most has performed on stage, including in theater productions, and he often participates in nostalgia events, reuniting with his former castmates to celebrate the legacy of Happy Days. Erin Moran, who played Joni Cunningham, Rich's younger sister, had a more complicated journey after the show. She continued acting in TV and movies but faced struggles with finances and personal life in the years after Happy Days ended. Tragically, Moran passed away in 2017 at the age of 56. Her death reminded fans of the pressures that child actors and young stars often face once fame fades. Despite the difficulties, her role as Joni remains iconic, and she is remembered fondly by fans of the show. Ol Molinaro, who played Old Del Vecchio, the owner of Arnold's Drive-In, stayed active in acting for a while but later retired. He enjoyed a quiet life until his death in 2015. Molinaro brought a unique warmth and humor to the show, and fans still remember his soft-spoken, kind-hearted character who served as a father figure to many of the teens in the series. Tom Bosley, who played the patriarch Howard Cunningham, passed away in 2010. Bosley had a long career in television and stage before and after Happy Days, and he was known for his kind and gentle presence both on-screen and off. He left a legacy of memorable performances and is remembered as a symbol of fatherly wisdom and stability. While some cast members stayed in acting, others chose to step away from Hollywood. Many focused on family, charitable work, and personal passions. Despite their different paths, the cast often reunited for special events, interviews, and anniversaries of the show, reminding the world of the bonds they formed during the filming of Happy Days. Fans who grew up watching the show in the 70s and 80s continue to celebrate it. The characters, Fonzie, Richie, Joni, Ralph, and the Cunningham family, are still part of popular culture. Happy Days inspired spin-offs, catchphrases, merchandise, and even references in modern TV and movies. It's a reminder that a television show can leave a lasting impact, even if one controversial or infamous scene changed its ending. Looking back, it's clear that Happy Days ended because of more than just one scene or one storyline. It was a mix of changing times, cast departures, and audience expectations. But what remains is a story of friendship, laughter, and iconic characters who influenced generations. The cast's journeys after the show reflect resilience, reinvention, and in some cases, tragedy, a real-life mirror of the ups and downs experienced by the characters they played. Even today, when fans see a rerun or hear the theme song, they are reminded of the joy the series brought, as well as the bittersweet ending that came when television's most iconic basement gang said goodbye. The cast's lives after Happy Days show that while the series may have left the air, its heart continues to beat through the careers, stories, and memories of those who brought it to life. From Hollywood successes to personal challenges, the journey of the Happy Days cast reminds us that life, much like the show, is a mix of laughter, heartbreak, and enduring friendship, and that even an infamous scene cannot erase the impact of a television classic.